like to discuss some of the important ideas about the topic that I will discuss in my lecture. And the topic of my lecture is, my research paper is the rise of new middle cinema in Bollywood. So I would like to discuss about what are the new kind of, you can say, Bollywood cinema is emerging with the new issues related to the new middle cinema. And as we know that cinema is the form of storytelling that reflects the culture and community in its begins to. It creates narrative based on the social environment and experiences of that community. Indian cinema is a significant contributor to the Indian culture and its reflection of its diverse heritage. The diversity of Indian cinema is evident in the different languages, customs, ethnicities, and cultural ideologies that it showcases. Basically, as we said, that the literature, cinema also reflects, or generally say it is the mirror of the society. So the different kind of languages, customs, ethnicity, all those are represented by the cinema too. And if we talk about the Indian cinema movement, from the beginning of Indian cinema, we could find that it can be divided broadly, it can be divided into two major categories, or we can say two major genres of Indian cinema. One is called the popular cinema or the mainstream cinema, and the second one is, we can say that it was started by the Satyajit Ray, in the leadership of Satyajit Ray, which is considered as a serious cinema, or sometimes we call it parallel cinema or art cinema. These two genres reflects the cultural differences in society. Commercial cinema usually follows the formula that is called masala films in Indian language, and aims for the box office success, while serious cinema uses neo-realistic elements to portray the reality in the more, we can say, austere way. Another genre, apart from these two major genres, we could say that another genre that emerged in the 1970s is known as middle cinema, and which combines the element from popular and serious cinema both. And it is a new genre and strikes a balance between the two, and it's distinctive in its own right. These films are sometimes referred to as middle of the road cinema, and aim to strike a balance between artistic and commercial elements of cinema, both the artistic and commercial elements of the cinema. Middle cinema is often characterized by the attempt to cater the wider audience while also addressing the meaningful themes on social issues. Commercial cinema and serious cinemas are the two opposite ends, we can say, in the spectrum, with the former creating the mass and the latter aiming the thought-provoking and altruistic. Later, the middle cinema, on the other hand, strives to maintain the balance between both the commercial viability and artistic integrity. These films often features well-known actors and incorporate elements like song and dance. Those are considered as an important part of Indian cinema. So these middle cinema was also incorporating songs, films, and the well-known faces or well-known actors. They are also incorporating them in their cinema. But while also delving into the more substantial storytelling, it was not just like escapism that was the major part of the other masala movies. Substantial storytelling and unconventional themes, though their focus was also on the storytelling and the theme. Middle cinema tends to focus on the realistic stories like the art movies, but it was also different, as I said. They were also using the songs and other things, the commercial elements too. Often portraying the relatable characters and situations, these films may explore social issues, family dynamics, and the everyday challenges faced by the middle class. The focus of this cinema was basically about the middle class of India, making them more accessible and relevant to a broader audience. Many middle cinema films address socially relevant topics such as gender issues, class disputes, rural-urban divides, and political themes. They use their narratives to engage with these issues in a way that resonates with audiences. Middle cinema often features well-developed multi-dimensional characters Female protagonists in particular are often depicted as strong and independent, challenging traditional gender roles and norms. And some of those films are, we know the directors of the middle cinema, Hrishikesh Mukherjee, Basu Chatterjee, Basu Bhattacharya, Guljar, and later on Sai Paranjpe are considered as champions of middle cinema in Bollywood. And they often portrayed the common people, their traits and their tribulations to the details and realistic fashion, simple characters with complex. The major crux of these cinemas, we can say, was a complex moral dilemma about the value system. Like the film Gharonda, they were having a problem related to to get a proper house in a metropolitan city, or the Piya Ka Ghar. It was the Basu Chatterjee's film, where a newly married couple, they do not have the privacy, and the problem of the space in the house was the major, you can say, the value system was affected with attached with that film. Even the Golmaal, the Anand, all these films, Rajnigandha, the dilemma related to the women, their strong portrayal of the women, all those things we can consider as a middle cinema. The dilemma is beautifully explained by the Rituparna Sengupta in her article in Outlook titled Middle Cinema of the 70s Disease, Commercial and Art House. In that particular article, she has beautifully written and explained that dilemma in his article, and I am explaining in her words. A man and a woman are traveling by a taxi. She's explaining a scene of a movie, and all of you know that that movie is Rajnigandha. So she's talking about that a man and woman are traveling by a taxi. They are sitting close to each other, yet an invisible barrier separates them. The taxi glided through the road of Mumbai, and we see apartment buildings and marketplaces pass by. Inside the taxi, however, the intensity of unspoken emotion is highlighted. The woman frequently looks towards the man but avoid eye contact. The loosened and her sari flutters in the wind, caressing the hand that lies next to her on the car seat. The scene switches back and forth between reality and fantasy, as the woman imagines herself sometimes in the arms of the man next to her and sometimes in the arms of her actual partner. The wind-winding road of Mumbai bears witness of this intimate moment of women's unspoken longings. So this kind of dilemmas, the social dilemma, the norms, values system, all those things were the major part of this middle cinema. The focus of these directors was dilemma of values and the challenges faced by the urban Indian middle class living in the metropolitan cities like Bombay or Delhi. But all those middle class was basically belongs to the metropolitan cities like Bombay, Delhi and the other big cities. By the 1980s, many of the middle cinema directors, the 80s is considered as a gone decade, and similarly this was true for the Indian cinema. And the directors had started, all those directors, they started making serials for the television. At that time, television was emerging as a big medium of communication in India. And they all major directors, they step out, they entered into the television arena, and the middle class would not step out for the house. The cities will become more overcrowded, and even those who had the car and drivers would prefer to see something on television rather than go out. And we can say that the middle cinema that was emerged in the 70s was almost it was finished by the 1980s because there was no audience for that cinema. But the entire scenario again changed in 1990s when India moved from its socialistic kind of ideology to liberalization, privatization and globalization. This created a new environment in India which led to significant socio-economic changes as major families joined the middle class because the income level was increased and influence level was also increased. This time influence of globalization and the experience of middle class diaspora were becoming more prominent in Bollywood. Film started exploring the aspirations, challenges and cultural identity of the middle class of Indian diaspora. So at this time, major focus of Indian cinema was on diaspora people, those who are living in the overseas in other countries, like Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, Swadesh, and there are so many films. The focus of more was on the Indian diaspora and their value system. And that's why one of the expert in Bollywood cinema, Rachel Dwyer, she wrote once in one of his articles that the major story of Indian cinema is about "Ye Shaadi Nahi Ho Sakti." The title of that article is "Ye Shaadi Nahi Ho Sakti." That is the basic concept of any Indian movie. If we say "Ye Shaadi Nahi Ho Sakti," why? Because both hero and heroine belongs to different caste system, Achut Kanya. "Ye Shaadi Nahi Ho Sakti" because both of them are from different socio-economic class. And we can say Bobby. "Ye Shaadi Nahi Ho Sakti" because there is a rivalry between the families. Qayamat se Qayamat tak. है ना? But in all those films, if you look at the Qayamat se Qayamat tak, if you look at the other films that I have mentioned, the major part in 70s, they were more rebellion kind of thing that let us go, bhag ke shaadi kar li jaye. But in the film Dilwale Dulhaniya, hero says, no, मैं तुम्हें तुम्हारे पिता से मांगूंगा. और फिर at the end, the Amrish Puri says, जा, whatever the name, Simran ja apni zindagi ji le. The major work, the major reason behind this is that those who are living in the other countries, they are more, I think they have a problem of their identity, and they are more ritual, they follow the more ritual and more spiritual in comparison to those people who are living in India, because they feel that हमारे बच्चे बिगड़ जाएंगे अगर हम इन चीज़ों को follow नहीं करेंगे तो. So they have more concern about their roots, and that's why in that film the value system was different, and he says मैं तुम्हें तुम्हारे पिता से मांगूंगा rather than हम भाग कर शादी कर लेते. So all those things, because they were attracting the diaspora people, and films were making good money in overseas market rather than domestic market. Equally, domestic market was also good for these films, but they are also earning money from the overseas market. But in early years of the 21st century, there is a lot of changes in 21st century, because one decade was passed after liberalization, globalization and privatization. So witnessed several dramatic developments in Indian cinema, and there was the last, you can say, at least finally at last the Indian cinema was declared as an industry in 2001 by Indian government, and no sooner did it happen that global corporatization and entertainment and media industry took off. Banks, insurance companies, and the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FICCI, was persuaded to support the industry. The decline of the active dependency on the funding from, because during 80s and 90s, the most of the funding was from the underground, you can say, underworld of Bombay. And once it became the industry, then organized funding started, the flow of organized funding started in Indian cinema, and that helped the Indian cinema to grow. Perhaps the greater impetus of the shake-up of the industry was the rapid proliferation of multiplex. At that time, we have technological changes. We moved from single screen to multiple screen or multi-screen theaters and digital cinema theaters. First in the metros and later on in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Multiplex offers the different experience of cinema goers. For the most case, they are part of the shopping malls and comprise the theaters of different sizes. Thus, small budget films could be released in multiplex and digital cinema theaters. Ticket rates are much higher in such multiplex. Therefore, the lower middle class, now the upper middle class were going for to watch cinema in cinema halls rather than lower middle class, which were more masala films were generally for the lower and lower middle class people, because they were looking for escapism from their day-to-day life. And that's why they were in a dream kind of world, a different world for 3 hours, and that was the main purpose behind the masala movies. But now the upper middle class, they were the main spectators, and they were the movie goers in multiplex, and because the high rates of tickets. This has given a rise to what was not known as multiplex film, that is small budget experimental films on subjects that were rarely touched on the mainstream cinema. The potential of small budget and medium budget films at the box office has led to the introduction of new genre-based film by young directors. And the rise of multiplex theatre has allowed the diverse range of films catering to the middle class audience. This has led to the exploration of niche and unconventional storytelling, creating of evolving tastes and preferences within these socio-economic groups. This gave the birth of new middle class cinema in India. This has led to the rise of slice of life narratives that resonate with the everyday experience of the middle class, like the 70s. But it is different in a manner that the focus is no more on the urban middle class of the metropolitan cities as it was in the 1970s. But on tier 2 and tier 3 cities, as the affluence level increased in these cities. Traditionally, Bollywood films of middle cinema in 70s were centered around the urban settings and big cities. However, the notable trend in recent years has been exploration of the stories set in small cities and towns. The shift has allowed Bollywood to capture the experiences, challenges, and dreams of the middle class in smaller and non-metropolitan areas. The new middle class cinema in India can be defined as a term to describe a contemporary wave of Indian cinema that addresses the aspiration, lifestyle, and challenges of the country's growing middle class population. This genre of cinema has gained prominence in the recent year and reflects the changing cultural and social landscape of India. New middle class cinema creates to the urban and semi-urban middle demographies in India. These films often features relatable characters, settings, and themes that resonate with the audience. The film in this genre focuses on the portrayal of everyday life and experiences, making an effort to tell realistic and relatable stories. These narratives often address issues and situations that the middle class encounters in daily lives. The film often showcases the contrast between small town values and urban lifestyle. Again, there was a dilemma of values. You could find the dilemma of values in this middle class cinema because it is always with the middle class. मैं इधर जाऊं या उधर जाऊं. So that is always a dilemma in front of middle class, and that is you can see this is the part of the new middle class cinema too. We can have some kind of films and the measure, you can say the attributes or some features of the new middle class cinema. We can discuss those things. I have to complete it, but 2-3 minutes more. So I can explain just 2-3 points. The patriarchy and the female empowerment, that is the main focus of the new middle class cinema. This genre often addresses the evolving gender roles and empowerment of women. The new issues like Toilet, Ek Prem Katha, Padman, Pink, that is, this is an important film to address the gender discrimination and violence. And also there are several female-centric storytelling in Bollywood are also growing, like Razi, Kahani, Queen, etc. And the female and relationship in new middle cinema also frequently explored by the in family dynamics, generational conflicts, and relationship between middle class context. Tumhari Sulu, Kabir Singh, Shuddha Desi Romance, Luka Chipi explored the complexities of modern relationship, including the live-in relationship, commitment issues, and premarital sex, etc. Ki and Ka challenged the gender roles of societal expectation by depicting the role of reversal in the marriage. Again, some important issues, those are very much important, and now the middle class society are discussing on those issues are related to the LGBTQ plus rights, their rights, and many films are in the recent time, you could find those films are like Aligarh, Kapoor and Sons, Subh Mangal Jada Savdan, they are related to those issues. And the major, one important aspect that I would like to emphasize is the use of local dialects in these films. and they are not just raising the issues related to the middle class. Their focus is totally on, they are working on the dialect, their mannerism, the cultural aspect of the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and that is, I can say, an important aspect of this cinema. Like Dream Girl, the language dialect is about the Mathura and Brij Bhasha. In Jor Laga Ke Haisha, the language is about the Agra and surroundings. Badri Ki Dulhaniya, the more Punjabi kind of accent, all those things. So finally, in final words, I can say the rise of new middle class cinema in India reflects the changing aspirations, lifestyle and challenges of the country growing the middle class population. These films provide a window into the evolving culture and societal landscape of contemporary India and offer relatable, realistic and thought-provoking storytelling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Anurag Dave, sir, for presenting in a very enlightening way the trajectory of Indian cinema from ये शादी नहीं हो सकती है से मैं हाथ मांगूंगा. So beautifully you have connected everything, you have told us everything.